Good morning, church. Welcome to the house of the Lord. Let's get straight into praising His wonderful name. Can we all stand as those people are walking through our doors? Let's just continue to give God the glory He deserves. To the person next to you, give them a high five, give them a good KPBC welcome, and we'll start the next song. When you're ready, just get straight into it. He's coming on the clouds, kings and angels will
and you guys can take a seat. So great to have you here with us, worshiping with us this morning. It's also a big congratulations to Ted and Della, who got married here yesterday. They had an amazing, big claps to them. There's a photo that was just so stoked to get married, and they did it here and they set it up. It looked absolutely amazing. Also, prayers are needed for Mark Quick. We'll pray for him in a little bit. He's had his surgery for his back, and apparently the surgery's all gone well. It's all going pretty good. The doctors, the surgeons are really happy with it. But they also need to test it out. So they'll be testing it out this morning. So he's got something in his back that will sort of stimulate the muscles to sort of help him with that back pain. So prayers, continue to pray for him because he's had chronic back pain for a long time. So we're hoping that this is the solution, and that this works and God will work through this surgery. As you came in this morning, you would have received a Kruger Chronicle on your way in. And we really want you to feel welcome. And on that back of that bulletin there's a little tear-off slip. We really want people who come here to feel welcome and to sort of fit into what we're about here at Kruger. So there's a section there to, if you're new and visiting, to fill out your name and details and contact details and things like that. Because we want to get connected with you, we want to get to know you, and also we want to let you know what we're about here and give you more information about Kruger. There's also a little section, tear-off slip on the back of it, is a section for prayer requests and things like that. We're a praying community, and on Monday mornings we get these in and we sort of pray for those things, which is really good. We're going to come to a time of offering now and giving, and we're so blessed to have Mark Westerhausen here this morning. Again, he loved it. He wanted to come back. He had, you get clapped and everything. That's so good. He shared a very powerful word last week on giving. And coming into a new season where we're splitting to 2 services next year, giving is an important part of what we do, but 2 really key things stood out to me. And it's like the how of giving, like how we're meant to give, how we're supposed to come to this place of giving. And one thing that stood out was looking at what Jesus did for us. Looking at the grace that He's given us. And we can come to this place of giving because we look to what Jesus did. We look to the cross and how gracious He's been to us. And the other thing was like the what do we give? And when we looked at what Christ did for us, we looked to the cross, right? We look to the cross. There's no rule of thumb, standard 10% or anything like that. But when we look to what Christ sacrificed for us, when we look to the cross, we see that it's an immeasurable gift, right? It's a gift of eternity with Him. And when we start to be in that relationship, we can come to a place of giving, which is just unreal. I'm going to ask the stewards to come forward now, and I'm just going to pray for that offering. Join me in prayer now. Heavenly Father, we thank You for what we're doing here in this church, and we thank You for You partnering with us, and as humans we want to join in what You're doing here, building Your kingdom. And that requires funds, it requires for us to have money to do these things, and we pray that as we give this morning, that we'll be giving out of a place that understands the sacrifice that You made, where we understand the cross of Christ. And we also understand the immeasurable gift of eternal life within You and the grace that You've given. May our giving come out of a relationship, not out of a place where we feel obligated to give, but out of a beautiful relationship with You where we understand how much You've truly given us. Bless this offering now, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen. As the offering bags are coming around, just a few different announcements. We've got our AGM. Just wait. We've got our AGM next Sunday. Mark's not here because Mark's usually the one who goes woo-woo when that sort of stuff happens. Let's try that again. We've got the annual general meeting next Sunday. Well, that's pretty good for you guys. Pretty good for Baptists, right? It's exciting. We're going to be sharing the budget, the proposed budget for next year. We'll be voting on that, but we've also, in the Kruger Chronicle, there's some names of those people who are coming into membership, which is exciting. If you're keen on being a member, if you're wanting to go that next step with us here at Kruger, and you're wanting to do that, it's a bit late to get in on this next AGM to be voted in, but if you're interested in that, we'd love you to talk to a pastor or someone about that, so that next step in becoming a member. It's very exciting things coming on. We also took, a few weeks ago, we took a church survey because we wanted to see, because next year, early next year, we're going to split into 2 services. And we wanted to see where you guys were going to come, because we're going to have 2 services. We're going to have 8:30, we're going to have a 10:30 service, And we want to we don't want a different demographic for each service. We want both services to be very much the same in the demographic, because we're going to be doing kids' church and junior youth church in both services. And the reason behind this is because we're multiplying. We're not just trying to split our church, because the hope is in the future we'll all come back together. And that's going to have its effects as well, because we're going to need more people serving. So if you're a member of this church and you're not giving back, you're not serving, there's so much opportunity. There's so much opportunity for you to get involved with what we're doing in serving in kids' church, serving in youth ministry and junior church. We'd love you to talk to someone about it. Find out, come talk to me this morning, come talk to Pastor Matt this morning about how you can get involved in that. And the exciting thing is, so far, on paper, the split is really even. How good is that? It's very good. People split, and some people are like, oh, my kids get up really early, and I want to get to the 8:30 service, and other people are like, I just want to sort of chill out, I want to come to the 10:30 service, and it seems like we've got a good split in terms of where people are going. Christmas is on the brink. Who's excited about Christmas? Well, we do Christmas here at Kruger well, and we do our Christmas carols well as well. So only 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks away, Christmas carols, and Sarah Bush heads that up, and they've been practicing, and it's sounding great and fantastic. But it's not just for us. We're not just filling ourselves up with this Christmas carol, enjoying Christmas. Hands up if you put your Christmas tree up already. Oh, don't be ashamed of it. Be proud. We've got our Christmas tree up. I know it was like way too early for that sort of thing. We love Christmas. We love celebrating what Jesus did. So Christmas carols is coming up. It's not just to build ourselves up. It's an opportunity for reach. All right, it's a reach event. So be thinking as to who you can invite along who doesn't know Jesus, because it's going to be an awesome time to hear the gospel and to be influenced. People who don't know Jesus coming into this wonderful community and connecting with us. We've seen so much fruit from our reach events, and we want to continue on with that. Sounds really good. So I'm going to invite Beth up now, and Beth is one of our leaders from Hype, one of our pre-teen Friday night ministries. Over the last couple of weeks, because we've got changes happening, we're going into changes next year, we wanted to do a bit of spotlight on our different ministries. So if you're not serving, you can start to think, maybe that ministry is for me, maybe God's calling me there. So Beth, like from the outset saying, join Hype, like that might be a bit scary because it's actually called Hype, and some people get scared by that. But what is Hype? Is it really as scary as what the name suggests?
Absolutely, it's terrifying. No, it's fine. It's great. So we have on Friday nights different ministries. So we have Kids Club, we have Hype, which is the middle age group, and then we have youth. So it's just another youth program. We just split them up because we have so many kids.
So tell me something about Hype that you've just been really encouraged. A story where, because we're about the gospel, we want to disciple kids and want kids to know Jesus. Tell me a story around that kind of thing.
I think the thing that most encourages me really is when I see kids grow. And throughout the year, sometimes it just feels like, man, this is so hard. These kids aren't responding, and it just feels difficult with those kids that are a bit more energetic and hard to manage. But then at the end of the year, I look back on the year and I think, man, this is just the most beautiful thing. Looking at the kids and seeing how much they grow and how much they really do change, and reflecting on that, I think just seeing those kids who are from the community as well, who don't come to church, and seeing the way that they've been transformed and the way they respond to Jesus as well, I think that just really warms my heart.
That's awesome. I've seen so many through. I remember one of our girls, Maria, who's just, she's asked for the gospel, read the gospel, and just wanting more material, and just asking amazing questions in small groups and stuff like that. It's pretty well split. What's the audience like?
Yeah, so we have about 25 to 30 kids coming tonight, which sounds like a lot, but really when you look at it in the room, it doesn't feel too much. We have a pretty good split of Christian to non-Christian kids coming, and honestly, most of the time they're little angels, really, but, not all of them can be, hey? I know I wasn't as a kid, so...
They are preteens, so they are a little bit hyperactive, but they're good kids and they're coming along. So what's the need around Hype? Why are you up here? Is everything great? We've got enough leaders, we've got enough girl leaders, boy leaders. Is everything perfect in that sort of sense, or is there a need?
There is a need. So I sort of did some numbers before coming. We have about 25 to 30 kids coming each Friday, as I said. And I would really love to see about one leader for every 5 kids. That way we can really have great connected conversations with them during our teaching segment of the night. So that being said, we already have 5 leaders and 2 junior leaders. Really, to be doing really perfectly well, we would need another 3 female leaders would be fantastic. Because at the moment it's only me and 2 other girls, and then Megan goes up to youth at the end of the night. So having 3 more female leaders would really make it just fantastic, so that those girls can have connections with other females.
There's been many a time where I've taken a little girl group and I just don't go out and choose them. They come to me. I'm like, this is great. I love to talk about life, but I'd much prefer a girl to talk about life with our girls. And they're amazing girls, right? They want to know about Jesus and they're so thirsty to grow in their relationship with God. Any specific prayer points? We're coming to the end now of our year in ministries. What kind of things can we be praying about into next year?
There are a few things, I guess. Definitely growth of leaders. When there are some leaders going out to work on Friday night, it happens. It can be difficult when we have 30, or I think we had 37 at some point this term. We only had 4 leaders. That was a fun night. So definitely growth of leaders. Also, I think just that we would keep having more kids come. It's just, more kids, and more kids from the community. That's really what our outreach is, and just touching those lives and those hearts, and seeing the parents coming into church as well. That would just be absolutely fantastic. So I think that would be fantastic.
Well, I'd love to pray for hype before the rest of our kids go out and learn more about Jesus. And I'd also love to pray for Pastor Mark. Would you join with us in prayer? Heavenly Father, we thank you for our many different ministries, and we thank you for their outreach, Lord. Kids are coming to know you, kids who don't know you, and they feel safe and they belong, and they just love coming into this place where you are working through us. So we do pray for heart, and there is a need for leaders, as we've heard. Lord, we pray that you'd be providing for us, you'd be calling people to action, calling people to step up and serve, so that we don't squander the ability to sort of to make fruit and to be involved with what you're doing. So we pray that you'd be working in this space, and as we go into next year, we pray that we have enough leaders, that you'd be providing that, Lord Jesus. And we just also pray for Pastor Mark. We pray that you'd be healing his back right now. We pray that he'd be recovering from the surgery and coming off all those aesthetics, and getting success that would help him with his back pain. Lord, that you would be working in that space supernaturally. We know you're a God who cares about all our bad needs. And we pray that you care for him in this way, and also give Lois the patience, Lord, to deal with Pastor Mark, and pray that she'd be able to help him out and to sort of help him get through this next season, and see him back to full power, back to drawing service really soon. In Jesus' name, amen. If you have a kid in creche, or a kid in mini kids, or you're a junior youth church, let's go out and the rest of us will continue in worship. Thanks, Dotz.
Look at all these kids going out, and the leaders and the parents are going to take our kids out there to establish that faith within them and build their lives. It's a beautiful thing. So just before we go into this time where we're going to reflect back on what God has done in our lives and to thank Him for that. That's what worship is. I want you to look at the person next to you. I don't know if there's twins in here, so it won't work, but look at the person next to you. The reason why I'm saying that is none of you look the same. Everyone has different features, different body types. God made you as an individual, made you different. So when we come before God, we also worship Him in a different way. You each have your own style, your own song that you need to sing out to God. The church is a spiritual hospital where all different parts come together and we all worship Him. We all raise up His name and we celebrate His name. That's what worship is all about. That's what being a family is all about. That's what church is all about. So as we go before God, in these next few songs, as we sing His wonderful name, reflect back on what He has done for you. And if you don't know Him, I pray that you will receive His love and mercy, because He does love you no matter what. Join with us, church. Stand and let's go before Him and honor His name. Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring. He's worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Let's sing worthy. Worthy of every song we could ever sing. Worthy of all the praise we could ever bring. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Ooh, Jesus. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. He's worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. We live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Yes, Jesus. Lead us to those around us. Lead us to those that don't know who you are, that haven't experienced your love. And show us the right way, Lord. The way to live our lives according to your will. Thank you, Jesus. This next song is a new song. We've only done it once before here. But the words, I want you to think about the words. Reflect on the words. There are times that God has done miraculous things in our lives. He can do it again. Walking around these walls, I thought by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, but knowing the battle's won. For you have never failed me yet. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed me yet. He's never failed you yet. The night won't last. Your word will come to pass. My heart will sing your praise again. Ooh. Jesus, you're still enough. Keep me within your love. My heart will promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail me. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail me yet. You never fail me yet.
Lord, we're so grateful that as we come to you, into your word today, your word is where we find your promises. You promise to never leave us or forsake us. You promise us eternal security. You promise us you love us intimately. You know us. You know everything we've done, and yet you still are with us. You go before us. You're there behind us, ready to catch us if we fall. You're there beside us with your arm around us, walking us through life. And Lord, you never fail us. Whenever we think you failed us, that's our opinion that's wrong. Lord, you've never let us down. You're always picking us up. You're always guiding and leading us. And so, Lord, we come to you with hearts filled with praise, with thanks. Even though at times darkness befalls us, even though we go through difficult times, Lord, you're there with us. We can ask for nothing more than the creator of the universe by our side. And so we give you thanks, Lord. We thank you, Lord, that you're alive and you know us and you've given us your promises. We can lean and rely on for life. A life in the world to come, but a life in this world that is all that it should be. A life focused on you, a life in love with you, and dedicated to your service. And so, Lord, as we open your word today, we pray that you might open our eyes to that truth and help us to realise more and more, have a greater understanding of your incredible love and your plan and your promise for our lives. We pray this, Jesus, in your holy and mighty, loving name. And all those people said, Amen. Please grab your seats. So good. Thanks to Dotz and the teams. It's great to be worshiping with you all today. And we've been going through a series that we've called Stop Going to Church. And I'm kind of glad that you took it as a series title and not a direction in a way, because you've kept turning up. So that's good. The heart of this series has been to say that as Christians, we can get a mindset of the church being a building or a place we go to and then we leave church. But instead we've been explaining and saying, no, we don't want you to go to church. We want you to be the church. We want to be God's people, whether it's as we're gathered or as we go out through the weeks, whether we come together in a life group and with a church with a small group of people, or whether we're going out and we see each other in the shops. We're just living out our lives for God. And so we've been explaining, we've been going through this, and we've had some great traction, some really great conversations around this big picture idea. And as Seb mentioned, Mark beat us up last week about our giving, and that was great because I've had some really good conversations this week, and thinking about ourselves, about what we give and how that plays into our lives as Christians. So we're grateful for that. And then Mark came back and said, man, I've got the pressure on me. I've got to be just as challenging. It's going to be hard. So we'll see how we go. But today I wanted to talk about how we worship as a church, how we worship as a body of believers. And oftentimes we can get this mindset, this thought that worship is what we've just done. We've sung some songs in praise to God, and absolutely that's worship. But singing isn't all the entirety of worship. you might think driving to work and Hillsong's latest album, you're singing and praising, or you're in the shower and that was great acoustics, I hear, so praise and worship time in the shower. Maybe that's kind of, I had a great worship session. But in the Bible, worship seems to have a broader understanding. It seems to be more than just singing. And that's great, especially if you're not great at singing. You might feel as though, worship, I can switch off to this sermon because clearly, God hasn't gifted me with that ability. But no, as Dotz explained earlier, we all have songs to sing in our own way. But worship isn't just what we do in singing. It's more than that. It's bigger. It's a bigger expression of our faith. And actually, it ties in with what we've been saying all along. It's much more of a reflection of our relationship with Jesus than it is about a thing that we do. And so that's what we're going to be looking at today. And today we're just going to go for 2 verses. In the book of Romans, we're just going to have a look at Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. I thought about doing 3 or maybe 4 verses, but I thought Black Friday weekend, whatever that's become, it's all about discounts and being less and less. So I'm just going to go 2 verses and we're going to see if we can get something out of this, because I think that these 2 verses are incredibly powerful for the way we understand worship and the way we understand living as believers in Jesus. Romans chapter 12 verse 1 says, "Therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will." At this time of year, we're coming into the time where a lot of people are asking God, what is your will for my life? Right? Like it might be that you just finished high school and you're like, okay, God, lay it out before me. Just tell me. I want an audible voice. Just give me the direction. What's your will for my life? Or you come to the end of the university degree and it's like, okay, I can go this way or that way. There are multiple options I could take. I don't know if I'm really sold on any of them. So come on, God, if you could just speak in an audible voice, that would be sweet. Just give me exactly the pathway that you want me to take. I mean, if it was like an app, then it'd be like a Google map and it would show you the pathway to take, and it would be like, well, if you go that way, it might take a bit longer. You take a toll. I mean, I don't like paying tolls, but you can get there shorter, so maybe we consider a shortcut. God, just give me the map, the plan, the pathway, and I'll be able to get there. Just show me your will for my life. So this time of year, it's a good time to be considering what is God's will for our life. Whether that be you're looking at your job and you're reconsidering what next year looks like, or where you live, or a hobby. Well, this is a big question that we want to ask. We want to say, God, what's your will in this? Lay it out for me. Make it really plain and simple. We're a bit concerned when we do this because we kind of think, I don't want you to be saying, go in this direction, like selling everything and moving to South America. That would be kind of, don't say that. So there's a bit of a double-edged sword when we ask God for His direction, but we're hopeful that He sends us on a pretty great path. So we say, God, what is your will for my life? And He explains it here. He says, this is my will, that you're not to conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and see what God's will is. So this is great. He gives us a passage. He explains it to us. All you need to do is go through a transformation. And this word transformation in the original language, I'm going to read it, is metamorphoseuthai, which is where we get our English word metamorphosis from. Now we can't, okay, metamorphosis, I've heard of this. So, a frog, right, starts at a tadpole. A tadpole is this little blob with a tail that's swimming around in a pond and eating moss and whatever else tadpoles eat, having a great time. And then one day, boom, an arm pops out of this tadpole's body. He's like, whoa, what is that? And for a day, he's swimming in circles, he doesn't know what this arm's doing, and then another arm pops out, a leg, and another leg, and suddenly this tadpole is changing. He's going through a metamorphosis that in a few more days he starts to think, I've got an urge to get out of this water that I've been living in my whole life and jump onto the land. And the frog turns from it goes from a tadpole, metamorphosed into a frog, changes totally, or a grub, a caterpillar. His life is eating this delicious, juicy leaf from my lemon tree. And I'm not really happy with caterpillars, but caterpillar, he's having a great life. He's eating juicy green leaves. He's getting fatter and fatter. His only fear is a bird that might come down. They're not really designed for defense. They're pretty defenseless, but the caterpillar is eating away. He's getting fatter. He's a happy caterpillar. After a while, he gets a bit sleepy. And his body starts creating a sleeping bag to go all around him. He thinks, oh, this is different. I wonder what takes. Seems like I'm going to have a sleep. This is great. Has a sleep. Wakes up in a few days' time. Oh, it's a lot tighter in the sleeping bag. It breaks free from the sleeping bag. Suddenly, these huge wings start appearing on his back. And as they get strength and form, he starts flying. Whoa, I didn't ever know this could be possible. I used to be scared of flying things. Now I am a flying thing. He changed from a caterpillar to a butterfly. He's metamorphosed. He's transformed. And so, when Paul is explaining to us how we're to find God's will, he says you have to have a metamorphosis of your mind. Your mind has to go from being a tadpole caterpillar to being a frog butterfly. You excited about that? So he's saying it's not just I believe in God and that's, my faith is a add-on to my life. I like Jesus. I like the things he stands for. He sounds like a pretty great guy. I'm going to believe in him. That's not metamorphosis. That's adding God as a backpack to your life to carry around just in case you need someone. Paul's speaking about a change that goes from one thing to another. It's a radical change, a very different change of being. It's not just an addition, it's an absolute transformation. He says we need a transformation of our mind from conforming to this world to changing, transforming, metamorphosis of our mind into being someone who is a worshipper, a follower, a giving their life to God. And so the mindset is, the shift is, this is what the world does. Living for ourselves, following the things that the world wants us to do, the expectations, living for getting a spouse or having a high-paying job or for everyone thinking that you're great. All of those things are conforming to the patterns of the world. When we become a Christian, there's a life change, a mental change, a whole body change that happens to us that transforms us into someone who should look very different. So that every decision we make, everything that we do, then comes with this mind shift of being directed by what God might have for us. We might be looking at it through the lens of His Word. We'll be asking Him as decisions come along, what do you want for me in my life, God? Is this the direction that you want? What is the Holy Spirit, this part of God that is living inside of us? How is that guiding and directing us? What do we want in life? Is it things for us or is it things for God? It's an absolute change that looks like a butterfly, not like a caterpillar. Everyone else in the world are living like caterpillars and they're having a great life because they're on the leaf. But God said, you need to have a transformation of your mind so you can fly. A shift that's not just an add a little bit of God to your life, but a shift that says, I am going to live a totally different life. I'm going to look totally different than everyone else in this world because of this relationship with God that I have. And to explain that further, we jump back to the first verse. So handy, I didn't just jump to the second verse and ignore the first. But the first verse, it starts with this word, therefore. And whenever you see a therefore in the Bible, you have to ask, what's it? Therefore. That's right, we've done this before. Good, good. Therefore, in this is a connecting statement that says, the things that have gone before, therefore the things that follow. And so in this, Paul, the writer of the book of Romans, is saying, read chapter 1 to chapter 11. He didn't say that because he just wrote it as one big letter. We put the chapter marks in there before. But this is what, read for homework, Romans chapter 1 to chapter 11. I could have read it all out, but we'd be here till after lunch and I'd get complaints. But there's so much richness, and Romans chapter 1 to chapter 11 is basically telling us what God did in looking at the world and seeing the world as being broken and separate, and our need for God wasn't being fulfilled by the way that people were trying to get to God, through sacrifices and through trying to reach out to God. It just wasn't working. And so God, in His incredible love, sent Him in human form to live a perfect life, and His sacrifice then became what we needed to pay the debt of our sin. All the bad things that we've done, His sacrifice paid that. And so Romans chapter 1 to chapter 11 is explaining all of that. God's incredible love, Jesus' massive sacrifice. This is what it's all explaining. And then so it says, therefore, and in view of God's mercy, that's kind of like wrapping up those chapters 1 to 11, in view of all that God's done for you, in view of everything that He's given so that you can have a life as a child of God. Therefore, in view of God's mercy, offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. Now, in the Old Testament, they had these sacrifices. And so people would have understood. People in Jesus' time, they understood. Not only were the people who followed God, they understood sacrifices, but people who followed other gods, they also sacrificed to their gods. But one of the things that they knew was, in the way that they went about a sacrifice, was that you didn't leave the animal alive as part of the sacrifice. So you didn't take a bull and there was like a fire and you just said, come on bull, jump up on top of the fire. It didn't go like that. The bull doesn't like that idea of standing on top of a burning fire. Yeah? So they would kill the animal in a way that would drain out its blood. They would chop it up and then put it on the altar and light it. And so it would be a dead sacrifice. Okay? We get that. Paul is saying here, you are to be living sacrifices. So that, to the mind of people who understood how sacrifices work, they'd be like scratching their heads. But wait a minute, we've never heard of this. How can you be living and a sacrifice? And so Paul is explaining the kind of sacrifice that we are to be. Jesus has been the sacrifice that was for our sins, that overcame the things that we've done wrong. You see, that's what people were doing before Jesus came along. They were taking an important animal, whether it cost them a lot of money to buy or from their flock. They would take that animal and they would take its life. They would kill it and sacrifice it. And that was saying to God, God, I love you so much. I'm so sorry for the things that I've done wrong. I'm going to, through the bloodshed of this animal, I'm going to ask that you might take away my sins. A sacrifice, something has been paid that cost me something that's valuable. It died, and in my place, so that I can get rid of the bad things I've done and have a relationship with you once more. And so the animal would take on the sin. And that's what Jesus did in dying on the cross, a bloody sacrifice. A horrific kind of picture of what the pain and the suffering of our sin cost of Jesus on the cross. And so He took that sacrifice. So when Paul's saying you need to be living sacrifices, he wasn't saying you need to give your life and as some sort of sacrifice that then, because Jesus' sacrifice wasn't enough, you need to do more sacrificing. No, he wasn't saying we need to earn it somehow. He was saying, in response to the sacrifice that Jesus has done for us, we then need to live our lives as a sacrifice to God. Think of it this way. Imagine if you're in traffic and the traffic's like banked up, there's like heaps of traffic everywhere, you're in traffic jam now, you're slowly crawling along, you see up ahead some flashing lights and you recognise, oh okay, there's an accident up ahead. It's in the left lane, you're in the right lane, and so you're kind of going along, but people have to start merging, okay? Now, if I'm in the merging lane, if I'm driving along, I need to get into the right lane, I put on my indicator, I start going across, someone opens up a gap for me, and I think this is a courteous thing, I give them a wave, get into the lane and say, thanks mate, actually you can say thanks mate, even though that guy can't hear me, or lady, might be a lady. Thanks mate, and I drive on. And I think if I mean it's not a big deal, I could ride the bumper of the person in front and say, no, you can't get in, go back, I want to get one more place forward. I could do that, but I back off and I let that person in because I'm a Christian. And I feel as though, I mean I could be wrong here, you may correct me later, but I feel as though in a loving society where we kind of try to get along, that person, even though it wasn't a big deal, I just wanted to place them. That person should do that to me. Am I right? Yeah, okay. I'm just educating you. Somebody does do that. After this, that's all you get out of this message. I'm sorry. But, that's the thanks. The thanks, easy. Now, if I was walking, crossing the road, and I was talking on the phone, and it was so important, I was talking to my wife, so incredibly important, I'm engaged in the conversation. Didn't realise the truck's about to hit me. Someone dives and roll and they saved my life. I don't go to them, thanks, move on. Oh, that changes, right? Amps it up. Oh man, thanks so much. Oh, that's a huggable kind of thing. That saved my life. Oh, that hug. Thanks. Maybe a gift. Maybe I'll get my wallet out. Thank you. But maybe I'll get to know that person and maybe send them a Christmas card. We still do Christmas. Maybe friend them on Facebook and on their birthday say happy birthday. You saved my life. I love you, man. That's so cool. There's something about that. It's raised it up a notch, right? The love increases because it just saved my life. Man, that guy died. It's so good. I was on the phone. I've got a story to tell. And as a preacher, you want those stories. Imagine if someone saved your life every day. Oh, man, that's a lot of Christmas cards. Imagine if someone, every time you did something wrong, instead of you getting the punishment, they took the punishment. Oh, man. That's a lot, right? That's a lot of thanks that's a lot of hugs. I'd probably have to ramp it up to another level. That's kind of like, what would I have to do to thank someone who saved me multiple times a day? Oh, man. I can't imagine what I'd have to do for that. I mean, they save me and keep on saving me. You kind of think, maybe they'd tell you to stop getting into a life-threatening situation. That might be a pathway, but it seems as though they keep on saving and saving and saving. Man, my thanks just gets greater and greater and greater. And this is what God has done for us. This is what Jesus did when he went to the cross. His sacrifice was so great. God died for us. Every time we do something wrong, we can ask God for his forgiveness. And we don't nail Jesus. Jesus doesn't have to keep going back to the cross, but the pain of the cross comes back into our relationship and we recognize, I did it again, I failed, I did something wrong, but because of your great love, God, you're going to forgive me again and again and again and again. And yeah, we've got to work on those things that we've done wrong. We hope you don't keep going back there. That would kind of just shove it in his face, what he's done for us. But we try to keep working on it. But when we're in a world that's so full of sin and brokenness and hardship, we just seem to keep falling back into these habits of sin and hurting God and offending him in some way. And so we keep doing wrong, but yet he keeps forgiving us. What kind of thanks do we give a God like that? Paul says, therefore I urge you. Paul doesn't say, I command you. I'm not saying to you, when someone lets you in, you have to do that or you're not a Christian. Okay, I'm not saying that. I think you should. I urge you. Wait, you know. If someone tackles you out of the way from a truck that's about to kill you, I'm not going to say you have to friend them on Facebook and say happy birthday. I'm not saying that. But I would really suggest that it would be something you'd want to thank that person for saving your life, right? So Paul urges us. He says, I want to say in the strongest way possible, in light of what God's done for you, brothers and sisters, offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Offer your lives back to God. Say, God, you have done everything for me. So what's my life? It's a life that's been saved. So because of that, I owe you everything. So I'm going to live my life to serve you. The interesting thing about love is that love is a choice. We wake up every day and we have to choose to love the ones that we've committed our lives to. I mean, in a relationship of marriage, we commit, as Ted and Della did yesterday, they committed to give of their lives to each other, to love each other and be faithful to one another as long as they live. That was a commitment that they made. But it's a choice every day to love the people that we've committed to. And we know that because many people walk outside of that love, leave that love, break that commitment. There are so many things in our world that drive us, that want to take our attention. We can binge watch TV or be playing games or focus on work too much. There's so many things that we can, but we choose every day to be living sacrifices. We choose to worship and thank God for all He's done. In the same way as that happens to us in human relationships, how much more then should we be thanking God for the grace that He's poured out to us? We didn't deserve His great forgiveness. We didn't deserve Him going to the cross. We didn't earn it. It's nothing that we can say, we are good enough for you to die on the cross for us. Actually, quite the opposite. It's because of all the things that we've done wrong that we say, thank you for saving me. Thank you that you saw that my life, even though I'm a speck in all of eternity, even though you're God and I'm just me, you love me enough to die on the cross so that my sins can be forgiven and that I can be a child of God. That is a life worth worshiping for, right? That is a relationship. We just go, oh, thank you. And so today, my question is probably twofold. One is, if you've looked at this, you've been thinking through this and going, oh man, I'm not a butterfly. You know, oh, I'd like to be a frog, but I feel like I'm a tadpole of one arm. Some transformation still has to be made. Maybe you've never actually given your life to God and said, yeah, I want to be a living sacrifice. Well, that's you. We want to pray that you might come into a relationship with God today. And if you're hearing this and going, oh man, I am a living sacrifice, but I keep, because I'm alive, I keep kind of moving off that altar. I keep wanting to do it, but I keep falling short. Then I want to pray that we might each keep each other accountable, that the Holy Spirit might do His work in encouraging us, and that we might put a line in the sand and say, God, I want this. I want this to be my act of worship, to give everything to you. That worship might be the way I speak to people at work. Worship might be the way I drive my car. Worship might be the way I live my life and love my family. That is my act of worship because of all that you've done for me. Let's pray. Lord God, we are so grateful for this incredible gift of grace. And so we pray, Lord, that you might be working in our hearts today. Lord, I just pray for those people who sense today that you're speaking to their hearts, that they haven't yet made that commitment to you, that they're still tadpole caterpillars, that they're still unmetamorphosed. They're still living their own lives in their own direction, but they sense your call. And if that's you, I would love you to come into a relationship with God today. So if that's you, I just want to pray for you. If you would pray along with me. Dear Lord Jesus, I want you to come into my life. I want you to forgive me for the things I've done wrong and welcome me into your family. I want to know you more, and I want you to be my God. Amen. And for those of us who feel as though we're really struggling to put God in his rightful place in our life, struggling to be that sacrifice that he's called us to be, let's all pray for that. Lord, we want to be who you want us to be. But we know we fail so often. The temptations in this world are so great. We have no excuse really but that we fall into them. And so, Lord, we pray that you might, through your Holy Spirit, fill us anew today. That you might change the things in us that you need to get rid of. That you might break them away. So that we can really live as you call us to live. Lives of holy sacrifice. Honouring and worshipping you with all that we are. We pray this, Lord Jesus, knowing that your grace and forgiveness is never ending. It's so full that it's enough to forgive us today and every other day of our life. So we give you great thanks for that. Lord, we want to lift you up in praise. As we sing in worship, Lord, we ask that you might really enter into our hearts and change us from the inside out. We pray this, Jesus, in your holy and mighty name. Amen. And as we offer, if you'd like prayer for something that's happening in your life, something that's going on from this morning or it's just happening, love to be able to pray for you. Please come to the front and I'll be here to pray as others will come forward to pray for you. Take the opportunity while we're together, because when we're apart, that's where real life can get hard. So take the opportunity for prayer. Thanks, Tim.
Pastor Matt said, if you would like prayer, please come forward for whatever need that may be. If you would like to receive Christ as your Lord and Saviour, don't be afraid. We're all a family here and we'll stand with you. Join with us as we sing this song and to lift up our voices to Him.
Oh my
Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed me yet. Never failed me yet. Thanks for joining us, church. Go out and be a blessing. Go out and speak life into someone else. And then share that love, God's love. Come back to